So the first thing I want to talk about is your recent drive episode, and you spoke about hitting the rookie wall and how you're aiming to play to be a better teammate. I want to ask, how has your own playstyle changed to make that a reality for your team?
I think okay, so it's just a matter of thinking about everyone else's role and not only just mine. Not and thinking about everyone else's game and how things that happen in the game and things that I do affect them, and trying to make the best. Like instead of before, I think most of my thought process was I would think about all situations and think about how they affect me only, right? And I would just only be playing my role. But I think now I just want to become more of not necessarily a leader, but I just want to be more of like a I just don't want to be putting my team at a deficit, I suppose, or something like that, just so I can get ahead or something like that. I'm not. I'd rather think of every situation from both sides and just make the right decision from there,
Sure.
from both perspectives, I guess. Which a lot of the games recently has been, jungle is not really gonna super hard carry and kill everybody, So you don't need to take all the camps. You can build supportive items for your teammates who will just kill people themselves, and you can win the game like that. So that's been generally how That's probably the biggest change, I think.
I want to ask a little bit about your mindset. I saw in a previous interview you described yourself as an emotion-oriented person, and I'm really interested in that because I feel like a lot of junglers would describe themselves as maybe a reason focused jungler, and I want to ask you, what is your first of all, what is your mindset like heading into week 6?
Um, I mean, my mindset is optimistic that our practice is doing good things for us. You can never really tell. With the way that our practice is structured, I can never tell how we're going to do because you can never tell how strong you are relative to LCS teams other than playing them in the games. And I mean, obviously that type of thing has its strengths and weaknesses, but um, I just I hope that our practice is doing good things for us, and I hope that um, we can hope. Well, I really want to make playoffs personally. That's my personal goal with the team, and I hope we get some wins.
I want to come back around to the practice in a moment, but do you view your sort of emotional orientation as being a strength to you? Do you use that when you play? Or do you have any techniques or habits that you use to control emotion before you go into game?
I think both. Um, I think a lot of my pro career so far has been just me learning how to essentially me learning better people skills, so I'm not being like oppressive to teammates that I play with. That's that's what I mean happened with me. I don't know, 2 years ago I used to play top lane, and I would say that that's the way I was at that time. But I think a lot of it has just been maturing, I guess. Not maturing. So that sounds like I'm driving the process. It's more just trying to figure out how to, yeah, I guess control my emotions, control because I can get tilted or I can get really hypey. I don't know. I think everyone really has these sort of emotions, but I think a lot of people. I'm just a person that I'm comfortable talking about them. So yeah, I think I just work on both sides of it all the time.
Sure. Speaking about the emotional side of things, I've heard from a lot of junglers that it's maybe sort of an abusive emotional environment in solo queue because the jungler gets dumped on. Like you're in the game, people are like, "Why didn't you gank for me?" Okay, jungler not ganking, GG or whatever. Do you struggle with that when you play solo queue, having people dump on you and just blame you for the entire game, and then go into a pro environment where you know that you don't have to step up and be that carry, and you're trying to be more of a team player in those instances.
No, I don't. I don't listen to people like that at all. In SoloQ, if somebody says something like that, I'll just mute them. And I mean, because people who say things like that really are just nearsighted. Usually, I look at my game analytically and I try to think what what I guess I could have done. Sometimes I just know that I made a mistake, and it's like, shit, man, I'm sorry. Like, I didn't gank your lane and you lost because of that. That happens. And those are things that if you have a very like individual improvement mindset focus, like I do, if I'm playing solo queue, I'm usually I'm just trying to practice champions or I'm trying to practice paths or something. There's something specific I'm trying to get out of it. I don't just play solo queue to I guess grind rank anymore. So, and I think also I don't really struggle with it because people know who I am in SoloQ, so I won't get flamed even if I do like kind of feed or not help as much as I should have for the most part. So yeah.
Got those LCS benefits. I got it. So let's go back to the practice a little bit. So as far as I'm aware, and it sounds like that's still the case, you're still scrimming within the Echo Fox organization only, and you're not scrimming other LCS teams. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's true.
So you just mentioned that it's like hard to know where you stack up going into any week because you're not playing against these other LCS teams. Do you? And I know in the past you've been a good soldier about this. Like in other interviews, you've been like, "Well, this is what the organization wants to do, and I'm going to do it." What is your personal opinion on whether or not this is an effective mode of practice? Like this is probably like unlike other things that you've had in the past on some of the other teams you've been on, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's completely different. Hang on, I'm gonna close this really quick.
All
Sorry.
right, no problem.
All right. My opinion is that I think it can be, and it probably is for the long run, definitely the way to go in terms of practice. I think it's the best way to practice. It's just that I think we rushed. We had a rush to put this sort of system together. It wasn't like exactly planned. We just kind of pushed it through. So there are obviously some things that we can improve on and we can get better at. But I guess, yeah, I think it's definitely a good way to practice. Just we are kind of the first people doing it, right? So we're constantly figuring out new ways to do things, new structures to put in place, etc., to sort of control it to make sure that it's productive, you know?
Yeah, makes sense. So you sort of alluded to something, which is that you guys are able to do this because you have a 10-man roster, or I guess as the organization calls it, a front line and a back line. And next year, all NALCS teams will be required to have an academy team and could do this if they wanted to, right? Like they could practice. So that's an interesting take on it, that you think eventually this will be what everybody does. Because right now, you guys are the only ones doing it.
Hmm. I just think that it's not viable if you don't have players in every role that can challenge the player on the front line or the back line. I mean, I don't even really like I don't like the front line or the back line terminology. It's just something that was kind of coined, I think, because there was a lot of backlash
Mm,
when I was not replaced, but like Greg played instead of me in week 2, right? And there was a lot of people hard flaming that, and that's when they came up with that term, the front line and the back line, right? Like we're Echo Fox 10. Um, it's not starters, whatever. It's not like starters and bench people.
right.
you know, um, some people obviously play better than others consistently, so they consistently play on the front line, or that's I think generally how it goes. But um, yeah, I think other teams will probably start doing this in the future. It seems weird that uh, when our management, I guess, talked to us about it. Um, it's really weird that you play your competition. You
Yeah,
don't play your competition in things like football or basketball. And they have coaches that have ran practice where the players play against each other on the same team all the time. That's how every sport works. You just play against your own team for practice and you play against other teams for real games. So I think League of Legends is unique in that a big challenge that you're presented with is you need to have players who can challenge each other in practice constantly. So I think that's the only thing that orgs might struggle with, or that might deter orgs from doing it in the first place, because you must get 10 players on your roster that are all competent and very skilled in their own right, you know?
yeah.
So, yeah,
Were you surprised by the backlash at all?
not really, no. I mean, that's just what happens when a player has fans and like a reputation, and people don't like to see them go, especially since Greg lost both series that they played in. I think there was even more because of that, and I felt really bad because I was there trying to support him. I wasn't like mad about it or anything because I think this is a really good, it's a very good idea, I think, and I really respect our management for making the decision they did before anyone else did. It's very bold. So um, I guess, yeah, I wasn't surprised. It's just, dang, this kind of sucks. I
Yeah.
feel really bad.
I want to ask about Echo Fox. You guys got a pretty strong start to the split, and I mean, I was surprised. I think a lot of people were surprised by that. We've since seen you guys slide to a 4-6 record. I wanted to ask you, what do you think the area is in which the team can most immediately improve? Like, what is the easiest opportunity for improvement?
Um, I would say the easiest area of improvement. I think just learning how to have effective communication in the mid and late game. I mean, we've had a very similar problem in communication for the entire time that because last split there wasn't an Equifox then. It was just Looper, me, Froggen, Keith, and Gate. And whenever those five have played, we had the same problem unless the other team was getting like completely stomped in their game. In which case it should be so free to end the game when it's like 12,000 gold lead at 30 minutes, and then it's not very hard to play at that point, I think. Um, but yeah, I definitely just point to communication. It just has some communication stuff. We're not always on the same page in LCS, and yeah, I think that would be it.
So you have your first game this week against Immortals, and I mean, I don't know for certain that you'll be playing, but in my opinion, good bet that you are. And opposite you in the jungle would be Xmithy, who is a veteran jungler, and some people had questioned him, and now in this split, he has come back with a vengeance. And this will be your first time facing off against him this split. So what do you anticipate from this matchup?
I think I had a really negative view of Xmithy last split. I remember it went pretty public. It went on Reddit, like front page or something. And one of my vlogs, I just said the first time we played at CLG last split in spring, I thought, okay, all I need to do is pick a good 1v1 champion, and I'm gonna go kill Xmithy because he has bad mechanics. Like that's literally what I thought. And I mean, it didn't really play out like that. It sort of did, but I mean, I think I had a negative view of him, and I think that was really unfair because as I've played for longer, you kind of notice, you can kind of tell what a jungler is bringing to their team. Like, was this good? This guy is super ahead. Like, for example, I have a really negative perception of Lyra right now. I think that Lyra takes a lot from his team, and there's not as much like he's not giving enough back to like warrant how much resources he's taking. And maybe that's due to meta shift or something like that. But I think Xmithy is a great fit for the meta right now, and he's playing like very very well in general. I mean, I watched a lot of his pathing. I learned a little bit from watching his games, and I mean, he's just a beast in general. Like I've heard he's a great teammate, has great communication. So uh, I don't know. I mean, I think it should be hard. It's not going to be easy. Immortals is supposed to be a pretty good team too. So we'll see when we play them.
I want to talk a little bit about like the rookie journey, like last split, especially first half of the split. I mean, I feel like your name was the name on everybody's mind just because of the impact you immediately had on your team.
Yeah, I
And
mean, I was Mike Young last split.
well, okay, well there you go. You preempted my question.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you about Mike Young. Do you see any parallels there? And it sounds like maybe you do. But also, have you had a chance to talk to him at all about what it's like to be a rookie jungler in the NALCS and have all that hype behind you?
No, I've never really talked to him. I don't think I've ever talked to him before, actually. I don't know. He just came out of the blue. I didn't have any sort of opinion, like my opinion of him before, which is kind of bad. I feel so bad they put it on the right, bro. I need to I really need to start thinking about what I say every time I'm asked a question that could be aired because sometimes I just say what's on my mind and it's so mean. Like I really didn't mean how mean it was before. It was like all I knew from him before was that he was a Nidalee one trick, and then they put it in there with like a really negative context, me just saying he was like bad. That's not what I meant. I just meant that that's all I knew about him before. He really did come out of the blue, and honestly, I think he's playing well. He's not. I think I was a beneficiary of the way the meta worked and some of the OP champions that are being played. So I just get Kha'Zix and I get like a cheese kill in the early game, and then I just pop off because it's Kha'Zix. It's easy to do. Or I mean, I didn't really get to play Rengar at all, but I don't know. I guess other champions I was able to have some good games on. But I think also people have a different like, dude. I didn't even win very many games. I didn't win very many like matches even last split. I wasn't as successful as even I thought I was at the time. So I think Mike Young's doing very well right now. So yeah.
You like putting yourself like since you've been in that position though, where you've been on kind of a hot streak, even if that streak maybe didn't continue till the end of the split. is there a danger? Like you sort of spoke about that in Drive, that there was a point where you feel like you became too confident in yourself.
Hmm.
Is,
Yeah, I mean,
is that something that he's potentially going to face? You think, like from your perspective?
if you go on his Twitter, he literally just posted something that got like I just saw it because somebody retweeted on my timeline, and I saw it and I was like, wow, that's interesting. It said a lot of people were worried he's going to get overconfident or something, and he's really trying to stay humble. So that was nice to see from him, that he's trying to stay humble. And to be honest, I said the same thing, and only time will tell if like he actually um, falls off because I think he did a lot of unique paths in his first few weeks, and I feel like a lot of junglers can look at that and say, look, this is working really well, even though we didn't think it was good. And then they'll remember it when they play him, and it'll just become easier to read. Because really, when you think about the LCS, how many times have I played Dardoch? How many times have I played Svenskeren? How many times have I played Reignover? I play Reignover, I know exactly what to expect when I'm going to the game, because I played this guy like so many professional matches. I know exactly how he plays. I know his tendencies in like decision making, even like usually you can just kind of know from playing each other, and this guy's new and he's actually playing well. He's doing some innovative paths, um, and he's just playing well, so I think that's it. Kind of took people off guard, but maybe he's gonna own. I don't know, like we'll see. I hope he does. It's fun to watch.
Nice. I saw some images and video of Foxconn, Rick Fox hanging out with the team and everything, and to me, I got to meet him once, but it always seems like he's sort of a larger than life guy. What is it like having him in the organization for you as a player?
I mean, it's just nice for me. I just feel I came from Challenger, right? So the only other organization I ever felt sort of secure on was Team Liquid Academy. It was like, okay, well, they're going to be able to pay my salary every month. I don't have to worry about that. All the other Challenger orgs are just like, dang, I don't know if these guys really have money or they really are who they say they are. So that's one of the immediate things that's really nice about being on Echo Fox. Like, you don't have to worry about it at all. But I mean, he's said some things to me just like when I was a rookie, actually. I think right after week 4, we beat TSM and CLG, and everyone was like, "Oh my God, Akaadian is so good." Right after that, he sent me a message and just said, "Look, don't let this go to your head," basically. And I sort of did. I don't know, but
That was my follow up. Actually, did
it
it?
was my bad. Yeah, it was my bad. It definitely did, and it's not a mistake I'm looking to repeat ever. So in general, like, I don't care. I think if I work hard, there's definitely gonna be a time again where everyone's like, "Wow, this guy's owning everybody," because I know I can do that. It's not the hardest to, and I just need to play well all the time. Um, so when that time comes around, I hope to just be able to be like, "Well, this can change at any point," and just be humble about it and keep working hard. I think that's all that's important.
Is it? I guess you sort of alluded to this earlier that the meta is really good for you in spring split. Is it a meta thing right now? Like, if this was spring meta, do you think you'd be on that same tear that we saw at the beginning of the split?
Maybe. I mean, they nerfed some champs and then they nerfed those champs, and I was like, damn, I have so much less of an impact. I can't just like hard carry these games anymore. And then it's hard from there because we didn't we washed over our team problems, I think, because we just had like when Corki was really strong, right? Before Froggen was really good at the Corki from before. I mean, I'm not saying he's bad at Corki now, but he would just play Corki and it would just like magically we would just win the game and we'd have less problems as a team because it's easier to play with. So uh, I don't know, maybe I don't really think it's a meta thing. I think you can excel in every meta, and just from the fact that what's his name, Mike Young's popping off so much, meta is not really an excuse at all. I think ever. So yeah.
Yeah. I want to briefly touch on Rift Rivals. Obviously, Echo Fox was not there, but I want to get a sense for you. Like, this is a tournament that's basically bragging rights. There's no points for worlds. It's literally just a bragging rights tournament. What do you think about that format? Like, is this something that you'd want to do? Like, I know the rest of these teams were back in North America scrimming, like some of them like 12 hours a day, using that time for practice. Meanwhile, the teams that went to Rift Rivals, yeah, they got to play the other region, but they're not using that time anywhere near as effectively. So, what are your thoughts on the format?
I think a lot of the teams did take breaks, by the way, during that time.
Oh,
They
really?
took like probably breaks.
Okay.
I think a lot of teams take breaks, at least from what I've heard.
Okay.
Um, But I mean, I personally would love to play in Rift Rivals just because it's NA versus EU. I think if it was another region, I wouldn't care. But there's just been so much like NA EU beef in the past that I think both teams really cared about winning or not. And we're like very, I don't know. I was happy myself. I was like, nice, we stomped EU. You know, it's nice. You know, because it's so annoying to see any Twitch like if you're from NA and you see an EU guy like flaming NA, you're just like, man, screw you. And then if I'm sure it's the same for EU and NA.
Yeah,
But
but you don't
yeah,
ever really have that chance to prove to them that you're the better region, except at
yeah,
Worlds, and then even
yeah.
then,
And
right?
then at Rift Rivals, it's like, wow, you guys got owned. What's going on?
Yeah, were you surprised at how badly NA stomped EU? Like it was pretty bad
Yeah,
overall.
I was pretty surprised. I think I went into it with the opinion that EU was probably gonna win,
Yeah.
but because when I watch EU game, like everyone's always like, oh, NA has these Clown Fiesta games, you know, but then you watch EU games, it's like, wow, this is some nice macro, you know, some nice macro going on. But then when you really think about it, it's like EU style in general has literally just been slow, and they don't practice like making a ton of proactive plays all the time. And that's why they got owned, in my opinion, by North American teams, is because NA teams have had a lot of practice making proactive plays.
Okay, sure. Last question I have for you. I saw you say in an interview that you were not interested in going back to school. And something you said really interested me. You said most colleges and people going to college aren't in line with the way I think. So I don't think it'd be a good environment for me. What is the way you think? Like that left me hanging so badly. I was like, what is it?
Um, I'm just not. Uh, I don't know if I want to say why. I feel like if this went anywhere, I get so flamed. I really don't like making people upset.
Okay.
And I do have my own opinions on everything, but I just think that I have a very negative perception of what's popular in colleges to think and act and say. There's certain things. It's like basically just very liberal, sort of like it's very popular and hip to be politically left, I guess, and I'm just not. And I think I see a lot of absurd stuff happening at colleges, and just a lot of people I don't want to come into contact with ever because they just look to me like it's just not a fun environment, and it seems. And another like to build on that, there's the personality wise and just like ideological is different, and also just getting a college degree doesn't really mean as much as it used to. I don't put as much value into it right now. I don't see a reason to go to school um, when you might not even get a job somewhere. You know, I have a friend who went to I think he went to UC Davis, which is like a pretty nice college in California, and he's just working at Starbucks as a manager, and I'm just like, man, it's supposed to be the leading into a better life or something like that, but it doesn't seem like that. I mean, I'm already doing something that's pretty good, so why stop?
Yeah,
I
I
don't.
think I think that that's something we probably a lot of us have heard, right, growing up is you go to college, get a good job. But the second part of that doesn't always happen, and like you said, you've already got a job, so I guess
Mhm.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, thanks so much for taking some time to speak with me today, Acadian. I really appreciate it, and best of luck for the remainder of the split.
Hmm. Thank you.
Thanks for watching. If you want more great content, be sure to hit that subscribe button.